The call that would change football forever came at 3 in the morning. On the other side of the line, Jorge Mendes' trembling voice cut through the Madrid night silence like a sharp blade. "Cristiano, we need to talk about Barcelona. Now." Ronaldo's heart raced. He knew that call wasn't about numbers, wasn't about money. It was about a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. At that moment, with the Real Madrid contract practically signed on his desk, an impossible proposal had just arrived. Joan Laporta had offered the unthinkable. Come play alongside Messi, form the most lethal duo in history, wear the colors he swore to hate. The silence that followed lasted only 3 seconds, but in those 3 seconds, 3 parallel universes opened before his eyes. "Are you insane?" Cristiano finally exploded, but his voice betrayed a dangerous curiosity he couldn't even control himself. Mendes took a deep breath on the other end. Insane would be ignoring this. They're offering something nobody has ever offered: guaranteed Ballon d'Or main striker clause, and, a calculated pause, venomous, the chance to prove you're bigger than the rivalry. Ronaldo got up from bed, cold sweat running down his back. Through the window, Manchester's lights blinked like silent witnesses to a pact that could rewrite decades of history. He thought of Ferguson, of Florentino Perez waiting for his signature. Of Messi on the other side of Spain, probably sleeping peacefully, not imagining that in a few hours his life would never be the same either. "Give me 24 hours, Ronaldo whispered, and those words started the countdown to the biggest earthquake football had ever witnessed. 24 hours. That's all the time Cristiano Ronaldo had to make the impossible choice. He sat at the edge of his bed, Manchester's cold seeping through the windows like a warning. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Ferguson. "Son, I heard rumors." "Tell me they're not true. Tell me you're not even considering that circus." The old Scottish manager's voice carried a weight that could crush mountains. Cristiano didn't answer. He couldn't, because deep in his core, in that place where ambition lives and breathes and claws for more, he was considering it. He was considering everything. The images flashed through his mind like a fever dream. Him and Messi, not as enemies separated by El Clasico's trenches, but as partners, as the unstoppable force that would make every other team in Europe tremble. But there was poison in that dream too. He saw Messi's face, that quiet Argentine who never said much but whose feet spoke a language that made the gods weep. Would Messi accept him? Would Barcelona's locker room, built on tiki-taka and humility, survive the arrival of a Portuguese peacock who celebrated every goal like he'd conquered nations? The sun rose over Manchester, painting the sky in shades of betrayal. Cristiano hadn't slept. He'd spent the night watching videos, not of goals or matches, but of moments. Moments when Real Madrid fans burned effigies of Figo after his betrayal. Moments when Barcelona's Camp Nou roared with a hatred so pure it could melt steel. He was about to walk into that fire, and part of him, the part that thrived on chaos, wanted it. His phone rang again, this time an unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something in his gut told him to pick up. "Cristiano." The voice was soft, uncertain, and unmistakably Argentine. His blood froze. It was Messi. Leo Messi was calling him at 6 in the morning, and suddenly the 24 hours felt like 24 seconds. "I heard the rumors," Messi continued, his English broken but determined. "I don't know if they're true, but I need you to know something." Silence. Cristiano couldn't breathe. "If you come, I won't make it easy for you. I won't share my spotlight. I won't pretend we're friends." Another pause, then the words that changed everything. "But together we'll win everything. And I mean everything." The line went dead. Cristiano stared at his phone, like it was a weapon that had just fired. Messi had called him. Messi, who never did media, never played politics, never reached out to anyone, had just thrown down a gauntlet wrapped in gold. This wasn't an invitation. This was a challenge, and Cristiano Ronaldo never backed down from a challenge. He grabbed his keys and drove through Manchester's empty streets until he reached Old Trafford. The stadium stood there like a cathedral, like a father waiting for a prodigal son to come home. He walked onto the pitch, the grass still wet with morning dew, and he remembered everything. The nights he'd cried here after missing penalties. The afternoons Ferguson had pulled him aside and told him he'd be the greatest. The Champions League trophy they'd lifted together, his teammates hoisting him on their shoulders like a king. Real Madrid had prestige, had history, had the white jersey that every player dreamed of wearing. But Barcelona had something else. Barcelona had the chance to do what no one had ever done: unite the two greatest players on earth and watch the football world burn in their wake. His phone buzzed with a text from Florentino Perez. "Cristiano, the contract is ready. We're waiting. Don't make me wait forever." Then another from Laporta. "You have 12 hours left. After that, the offer disappears. Forever." The pressure was a physical thing now, a weight on his chest that made breathing painful. He thought about his mother, about the poverty they'd escaped, about the promises he'd made to himself as a child in Madeira. He'd promised to be the best. Not one of the best. The best. Could he be that at Barcelona, living in Messi's shadow? Or would the partnership elevate both of them into a stratosphere that football had never seen? He drove to a private gym where he knew no one would find him. He ran on the treadmill for 2 hours straight, punishing his body because his mind wouldn't stop screaming. Then his phone rang one more time. Jorge Mendes, his voice steady now, almost cold. "Cristiano, I've negotiated with both sides. Whatever you choose, you'll be the highest paid player in history. But I need your answer now. Real Madrid is prepared to announce you in 3 hours. Barcelona needs to know in 2. What's it going to be?" Cristiano stopped running. His heart hammered against his ribs. The gym's mirrors reflected a man at a crossroads, and in that reflection he saw 2 versions of himself. One wore white, scoring against Barcelona, celebrating in the Bernabeu's roar, feeding off hatred like fuel. The other wore blue and red, passing to Messi, creating a partnership that would be studied for centuries, rewriting what was possible in football. Both versions were glory. Both versions were legacy. But only one would be the truth. He grabbed his phone and typed 3 words to Mendes. Just 3 words that would reshape football's history, that would break hearts and forge legends, that would make him either the greatest visionary or the greatest traitor the sport had ever known. "Make the call," he texted, and then he added one more message, an address. The address of a private jet waiting at Manchester Airport. The destination was already programmed into the flight plan. When Jorge Mendes saw where that jet was headed, he closed his eyes and whispered a prayer. Because in 3 hours the world would explode. The private jet cut through the clouds at 40,000 feet, and Cristiano Ronaldo sat alone in the cabin, his reflection ghosting across the window as Europe passed beneath him. He hadn't told anyone where he was going. Not Ferguson, not his family, not even his closest friends. This decision was too big, too final, too dangerous to share before it was done. His phone was off now, silenced, because he couldn't afford doubt. Not anymore. The flight attendant brought him water, but he couldn't drink. His hands trembled with an energy that felt like electricity, like destiny, like the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for him to land. 40 minutes later, the pilot's voice crackled through the intercom. "Mr. Ronaldo, we're beginning our descent." Through the window, the city sprawled below like a promise. Buildings glittered in the afternoon sun, and somewhere down there in an office or a stadium or maybe just a quiet room, Messi was waiting. Not knowing, not understanding. That soon his entire existence would be challenged by the arrival of a rival who refused to be second to anyone. The car that picked him up from the airport had tinted windows so dark they could hide sins. The driver said nothing, just handed him a phone. One new message. "Go to the address I sent. Come alone. No security. No cameras. This is between you, me, and history." It was unsigned, but Cristiano knew who it was from. The car wound through streets he'd only seen on match days. Streets where Barcelona fans walked in their sacred colors, where hatred for Real Madrid ran so deep it was practically genetic. And here he was, about to become one of them or about to use them as a bargaining chip in the most dangerous game of chess football had ever played. The car stopped in front of an unmarked building. No signs, no logos, nothing to indicate what happened inside. Cristiano stepped out into the Barcelona heat, and for the first time in 24 hours he smiled. Because he'd made his choice. He'd made the choice that would either crown him as a god or destroy him completely. The door opened before he could knock. Joan Laporta stood there, the Barcelona president, his face a mixture of triumph and terror. "You came," he breathed. "I wasn't sure you would. Florentino is calling me every 10 minutes, threatening lawsuits, threatening to destroy me. Real Madrid has lawyers ready to claim we tampered, that we broke every rule in the book. Cristiano stepped inside. The room was small, private, with a table and 2 chairs and a contract that looked like it had been drafted by the devil himself. "Where's Messi?" Cristiano asked. Laporta pointed to a door. "He's waiting. He doesn't know if you're coming to sign or to reject us in person." "He's terrified, Cristiano. Terrified that you'll overshadow him. Terrified that Barcelona will become your team." Cristiano walked to that door and pressed his hand against it. On the other side he could hear breathing, could feel the presence of the man who was supposed to be his eternal enemy. He pushed the door open, and there was Messi sitting on a chair, looking smaller than he did on the pitch, more human, more vulnerable. Their eyes met, and in that moment 1,000 El Clásicos flashed between them, 1,000 future battles that would now never happen. Or would they? Because the most dangerous thought crept into Cristiano's mind. What if the real rivalry wasn't Real Madrid versus Barcelona? What if the real rivalry was about to begin right here, in this room, between 2 men who would spend every training session trying to outdo each other? Messi stood up slowly. "So?" he said in English, his accent thick but his meaning crystal clear. "Are you here to be my partner or my replacement?" Cristiano didn't blink. "Neither," he said. "I'm here to be your equal. We push each other. We challenge each other. We make each other better. And when we step on that pitch together, no team in the world will be able to stop us." Messi studied him for a long moment, then did something Cristiano never expected. He extended his hand, not for a handshake but palm up, like an offering. "Then let's make history," Messi said. And Cristiano took his hand. The moment their hands clasped, the door behind them burst open. Laporta rushed in, his face pale. "Cristiano, Florentino just announced you to the press. Real Madrid is telling the world you're signing in 1 hour. Every camera in Madrid is waiting for you. If you don't show up," he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. If Cristiano didn't show up to that announcement, the fallout would be nuclear. Real Madrid would come for him with everything they had. But if he went to Madrid, this moment, this partnership, this chance to rewrite football would die. Cristiano looked at Messi, still holding his hand, and then he looked at Laporta. His voice was steady, final, and absolutely certain. "Call a press conference. Barcelona's press conference. In 30 minutes. I'm not going to Madrid. I'm staying here." And with those words, the football world as everyone knew it ceased to exist. The press conference room at Camp Nou filled faster than any in history. Journalists sprinted through the halls, cameras set up in seconds, and social media exploded with rumors that had moved past speculation into hysteria. In Madrid, at the Santiago Bernabeu, Florentino Perez stood at a podium surrounded by empty chairs, waiting for Cristiano Ronaldo to appear. The minutes ticked by. 5 minutes late, 10 minutes, 15. The journalists in Madrid began to murmur, began to pull out their phones, began to see the tweets erupting from Barcelona. Breaking emergency press conference at Camp Nou. Laporta to make major announcement, and then the one that made the world stop. Cristiano Ronaldo spotted entering Camp Nou. Florentino's face drained of color. An aide rushed to his side and whispered something that made the Real Madrid president grip the podium so hard his knuckles turned white. He walked off the stage without a word, leaving behind a room full of confused reporters and a dream that had just turned to ash. In Barcelona, Cristiano Ronaldo walked onto the press conference stage with Joan Laporta on one side and Lionel Messi on the other. The 3 of them stood there, and the flashes from cameras created a lightning storm that felt biblical. Laporta stepped to the microphone first. "Today we make history. Today FC Barcelona welcomes the greatest player in the world to join the greatest player in the world." The room erupted. Questions shouted in 10 different languages. Reporters standing on chairs. The energy so electric it felt like the building might collapse. Cristiano took the microphone and the room fell silent. "I know what everyone expected," he said, his voice calm but carrying a power that silenced even the boldest journalist. "They expected me to wear white. They expected me to be the enemy of this club, of this city, of this man beside me." He gestured to Messi, who stood there expressionless, unreadable. "But I didn't become who I am by doing what people expected. I became who I am by doing what seemed impossible. And what's more impossible than this? 2 players who were supposed to be rivals. joining forces to create something football has never seen. Then Messi stepped forward, and the shock doubled because Messi never spoke at press conferences, never engaged with media, never gave them anything but goals. "Cristiano and I talked," Messi said softly, the microphone barely picking up his words. "We decided that the world deserves to see what happens when the best don't fight each other, but fight together. Real Madrid will hate us. The rest of Spain will hate us. Maybe even some Barcelona fans will hate this. But we don't care, because we're going to win. We're going to win everything." The press conference dissolved into chaos. Journalists screaming questions, cameras pushing forward, security struggling to maintain order. Outside Camp Nou, Barcelona fans who'd heard the news began gathering, some celebrating, others confused, a few even angry. But inside that room, Cristiano and Messi stood side by side, and in that moment, they weren't rivals anymore. They were a weapon pointed at every team, every league, every trophy in football. And Real Madrid, watching from their empty press room in the Bernabeu, knew they'd just lost more than a player. They'd lost the war before it even began. The next morning, every newspaper in the world had the same image on their front page. Cristiano Ronaldo, holding a Barcelona jersey with Ronaldo 7 on the back, standing next to Messi with his arm around the Argentine's shoulder. The headline in Spain's Marca read, "Traitor." In Barcelona's Sport, "The Partnership of Gods." In England, The Guardian asked, "Has football changed forever?" The answer was yes, but no one knew just how much. Within hours, Real Madrid responded. Florentino Perez appeared on television, his face a mask of controlled rage. "Cristiano Ronaldo has betrayed the dreams of millions. He has shown his true character, but Real Madrid is bigger than any player. We will find someone better. We will destroy Barcelona. And when we do, Ronaldo will understand what he's lost." Behind closed doors, Florentino made calls to agents, to players, to anyone who could help him strike back. Within 48 hours, he'd signed Kaká, Benzema and Xabi Alonso. The message was clear. If Barcelona wanted war, Real Madrid would bring an army. But Barcelona had something Real Madrid couldn't buy: chemistry that shouldn't exist. The first training session with Ronaldo was tense. Xavi and Iniesta watched him carefully, wondering if this Portuguese superstar would destroy the tiki-taka philosophy that had made them champions. Puyol, the captain, pulled Cristiano aside before practice. "Listen," Puyol said, his voice low and dangerous. "I don't care how many goals you scored at Manchester. Here, we play as a team. If you try to be bigger than this club, I'll make your life hell." Cristiano smiled, that arrogant smile that made defenders want to break him. "Captain," he said, "I didn't come here to be bigger than the club. I came here to make the club bigger than anything football has ever seen." Then he jogged onto the pitch, and what happened next would be replayed in training footage for years. Guardiola set up a scrimmage, first team versus reserves, and for the first time Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi played on the same side. The first pass between them was tentative, testing. Messi to Ronaldo, a simple ball to feet. Ronaldo controlled it, looked up and saw Messi making a run. Without hesitation, he played it back, a perfectly weighted through ball that split two defenders. Messi was through on goal and he scored. But instead of celebrating, he turned and pointed at Cristiano. The message was clear: this could work. 3 weeks later came their first match together, a pre-season friendly against Inter Milan, but it felt like a final. The San Siro was packed, every eye on Barcelona, every analyst trying to predict how this impossible partnership would function. Guardiola named his lineup: Messi on the right, Ronaldo on the left, with freedom to roam, to switch, to create chaos. The match kicked off, and for the first 20 minutes it was awkward. Ronaldo wanted the ball at his feet, wanted to dribble, wanted to dominate. Messi drifted into spaces, waiting for the perfect moment. They almost never occupied the same wavelength. Inter sensed it and attacked, pressing high, forcing mistakes. Then in the 23rd minute, everything changed. Barcelona won the ball back. Xavi played it wide to Alves, who crossed into the box. The ball was too high for Messi, too far for most players. But Ronaldo rose like gravity didn't apply to him. His header crashed toward goal, and the Inter keeper could only parry it. The ball fell perfectly to Messi, who controlled it on his chest and volleyed it into the net in one motion. Goal. And then Ronaldo did something that made the world stop. He ran to Messi and jumped on his back, screaming in celebration like they'd been partners for years. Messi, for the first time anyone could remember, smiled. Truly smiled. And in living rooms and bars across the planet, football fans realized they were watching the birth of something that would dominate the sport for a decade. By the 60th minute, Barcelona was up 4-0. Ronaldo had scored twice, Messi once, and they'd combined for an assist that involved 17 passes and left Inter's defense looking like training cones. After the match, the Inter manager Mourinho, who'd coached Ronaldo before, was asked about what he'd witnessed. His answer was chilling. "We didn't play against a team today. We played against an inevitability. If those two continue like this, no one will beat Barcelona. Not us, not Real Madrid. No one." The quote spread like wildfire. In Madrid, Florentino read it and threw his phone across the room. Real Madrid's season opener was in 3 days, and suddenly their expensive new signings felt inadequate. They'd spent €250 million trying to replace Ronaldo, but money couldn't buy what Barcelona now had: perfection. The night before El Clásico, which was scheduled for October, Cristiano couldn't sleep. He walked through Barcelona's empty streets, hood up, trying to be invisible. But a kid recognized him, a young boy, maybe 12, wearing a Barcelona jersey. The kid approached nervously. "Cristiano, can I ask you something?" Ronaldo nodded. "Do you regret it? Choosing us instead of Real Madrid?" Cristiano crouched down to the kid's level. "Every great decision comes with regret. But you know what's worse than regret? Wondering what could have been." The kid smiled and ran off. And Cristiano stood there in the Barcelona night, knowing that in a few weeks, he'd return to the Bernabeu not as their savior, but as their enemy. And he couldn't wait. El Clásico arrived like a reckoning. The Santiago Bernabeu was a cauldron of rage. 80,000 fans screaming murder at the man who'd betrayed them. The whistles when Cristiano's name was announced were so loud they registered on seismographs. Real Madrid's fans had prepared a banner that stretched across an entire section, Judas 7. Ronaldo saw it during warm-ups and laughed. Actually laughed. Messi jogged up beside him. "They really hate you," Messi observed quietly. "Good," Cristiano replied. "Hate makes you sloppy." The match kicked off with a violence that was barely controlled. Pepe's first tackle on Ronaldo was so brutal, it drew a yellow card within 30 seconds. Sergio Ramos sledged him constantly, whispering things in Portuguese that would make sailors blush. But Cristiano didn't bite. He just played. In the 12th minute, he and Messi combined for the first time in El Clásico. A quick 1-2 on the edge of the box. Messi's pass threading through Ramos and Pepe like they were ghosts, and Ronaldo was through on Casillas, one-on-one with his former teammate. Cristiano faked the shot, Casillas dove, and Ronaldo slotted it calmly into the empty net. The Bernabeu went silent. 80,000 people shocked into momentary muteness. Then the Barcelona section exploded, while Cristiano ran to the corner flag and did his signature celebration, "Siu!" but directed it at the Real Madrid fans like a declaration of war. Ramos grabbed him immediately, shoving him, screaming in his face, "You're dead! You hear me, dead!" But Cristiano just smiled, that infuriating smile, and jogged back to the halfway line where Messi waited to restart. Barcelona won that match 5-1. Ronaldo scored twice, Messi got a hat-trick, and by the final whistle, Real Madrid's players looked broken. In the tunnel afterward, Ronaldo crossed paths with Casillas, his old friend. They stared at each other for a moment. All the years of friendship turned to ash. "You destroyed us," Casillas whispered. "You destroyed yourself," Cristiano replied. "You could have been part of this." And he walked away, leaving his former captain standing there, understanding too late that Ronaldo hadn't chosen Barcelona out of spite or money. He'd chosen evolution. He'd chosen to be part of something that would be remembered forever. Real Madrid, for all their history and glory, had offered him the past. Barcelona had offered him the future. And the future, it turned out, was unstoppable. The season unfolded like a prophecy written in goals. Barcelona won La Liga by March, 14 points clear. They dismantled every team in the Champions League, scoring 48 goals in 13 matches. Ronaldo and Messi were no longer rivals. They were a hydra, a two-headed monster that defenders couldn't contain. If you marked Messi, Ronaldo destroyed you. If you doubled Ronaldo, Messi carved you apart. They finished the season with a combined 107 goals in all competitions. Ronaldo 54, Messi 53. On the final day, they stood together holding every trophy Spanish and European football could offer: La Liga, Copa del Rey, Champions League, the treble. And as they lifted the Champions League trophy together in Rome, with the whole world watching, they looked at each other and knew this was only the beginning. In Madrid, Florentino Perez sat in his office watching the celebration on TV, and for the first time in his life he understood defeat. Not just losing, but being rendered irrelevant, because no matter what Real Madrid did, no matter who they signed, they couldn't compete with destiny. And that's what Ronaldo and Messi together had become. Not just players, not just a partnership, but destiny itself, rewriting football's story one impossible goal at a time. The question now wasn't whether they'd win. It was whether anyone would ever beat them. And as 5 more seasons played out, as they won 4 more Champions Leagues, as their combined Ballon d'Or total reached 12, as they became not just the greatest duo but the greatest story football ever told, the answer became clear: no one would ever beat them. Because some partnerships aren't just successful. Some partnerships are inevitable. And Cristiano Ronaldo choosing Barcelona in 2009 wasn't a decision. It was fate finally getting its way.